Still, I'm in a good position to start sort of having a look, and I can see that I do have this large area towards the shadow end of the spectrum in the histogram. So if I was to drag either in the histogram or on the exposure slider, I'm just going to start off with minus 0.5 as a base exposure adjustment, and I want to go ahead and fix these issues up here. Now I can see the jagged nature of the highlight. That's indicating to me that there's a lot of JPEG compression in that area of the image, which is why it's got that funny little pattern to it. So we do need to be sort of careful when we're working with JPEG compressed images to make sure that we're not sort of damaging them any further. So I'm going to tweak the whites, which you'll remember is at the very top end, all the way back down to minus 100. See if I can get anything out of the shadows, expand the shadows a little bit, or the blacks rather, not the shadows, the very darkest parts of the image, by lifting that a little. Dropping back on the shadows, and all of these changes I'm, as usual, working by eye, but keeping one eye on the image itself and the other eye on the state of the histogram, of course. So it looks like, having dropped the whites down, lifted the very inkiest blacks, but dropped the shadows, I've probably got some room to expand the highlights, and once again you can see this effect that we were mentioning before, where the highlights and shadows can be expanded with quite a bit before they will start clipping, if at all. So I'm going to pump a bit more into the highlights, maybe, I don't know, maybe not too much, around 25, something like that. And then I think what will happen with the contrast, as I give that a bit more of a tweak, I can see the dynamic range starting to shift across the board. So with my exposure, just going to toggle the letter P to see the before and the after. That's a bit more dramatic and interesting. I think what I'll do, though, as usual, is just drop the saturation just a smidgen, maybe a smidge more. That's good. That's nice and a little bit more dramatic. That's good. So with the exposure at minus 0.5, that's allowed me to pump in some contrast after taking care of the very brightest and darkest. So sort of working from the outside edges of the histogram into the middle. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to